Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the shop. I wanted to talk to you guys about a few things here today, my predictions for 2023. And I'll warn you right off the bat, they're pretty dark. I don't see things getting any better. If you just want the short version, things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. They're going to have to. But you know, I don't have a crystal ball or, you know, read tarot cards or any crazy stuff like that or, you know, anything like that. I don't, you know, no one speaks to me and tells me, oh, this is what's coming in the future. No. I base my predictions on research that I've done over the years. For over 20 years now, I've been studying politics, studying American history in particular, but also to some level world history. And of course, along the way, I've learned about many clandestine projects and operations and plans that have been put into place by people like the UN, the Agenda 21-2030, the Great Reset. The latest iteration of it has been Build Back Better. We've heard all these leaders, Trudeau, Biden, all these leaders from around the world saying Build Back Better. They must have ran that Build Back Better through a focus group, and it sounded better to their ears than the Great Reset or whatever, which sounds ominous on the surface. And it is ominous because it's bad, it's control. And so I wanted to make some predictions of what I see possibly happening. Again, doesn't mean any of these things necessarily will happen. This is just one of about 1 million possibilities here. So let's get into this. Predictions for 2023. Wars and rumors of wars. That's going to continue. We've seen a lot of that stuff already with Russia and the Ukraine, but more specifically, it's going to be Russia and NATO will continue to escalate the war in Ukraine. No doubt about it. They're doing it every time we turn around by either sending more money, more weapons, more troops. We've done videos about that in the past. There are British and American troops over there on the ground fighting Russians right now. And I'm sure Putin feels directly threatened by that. And I'm sure he knows about it. If we know about it, he knows about it. If Putin feels he's running out of options, it could go nuclear. We've talked about that a little bit in the past. You know, it's very likely that I don't think it would go immediately full-scale nuclear, but, you know, like tactical nukes and smaller strategic nukes could be, you know, implemented. I don't know if it'll go full scale, like, you know, thermonuclear ICBMs and all this flying, everybody launching all their stuff at once. I don't necessarily think that'll happen, at least right out of the gate. But the way this stuff works is one side does one thing, the other side escalates it a little bit, and then, you know, it continually gets more and more and more looking like World War III. That's the best way I could put it. I predict more false flags like the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and maybe it was the 1 and the 2 that were attacked, and later on they found out that they believe it was British operatives that did that, and so I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Also, the Ukrainians were claiming that Russia launched a missile at Poland, when in reality it was the Ukrainians launching a missile that apparently either got out of their control or they were trying to stage a false flag attack. Could we see false flag nuclear attacks in 2023? I think it's very likely, meaning that some other NATO player could go and detonate a nuke and try to blame it on the Russians just to escalate it to the next level. I mean, right now, the way things stand, nothing would surprise me. The posturing from NATO and the United States in particular has not been, hey, let's usher in peace talks. Let's bring this to an end. Let's find some compromise where no more people have to die. Let's have a ceasefire, anything. An armistice, nothing. The Biden administration is clearly hell-bent on being in a full frontal war with Russia. And the prospects of that are not very good for either side. So, again, you could say that plays into the Agenda 21-2030, the Great Reset. You will own nothing and you will be happy. All these other things are going to favor a war that goes full scale. That hurts the United States, because at the end of the day, the United States is the last bastion of freedom on the face of this earth. And if we fall, everyone else that loves freedom and liberty will fall as well. So we're the last hope, guys. And that's why the UN, the Great Reset, all these people have their sights set on the United States of America. We are the key to holding freedom and liberty and capitalism. We are the ones that hold it up and make the rest of the world want to achieve that same goal. And the UN, Agenda 21-2030, and the Great Reset, they can't have that. They don't want you to ever look outside of the possibilities that are given to you by the controllers. So anyway, let's move on. China and Taiwan. This is another way that in 2023 things could really take another really hard turn towards global warfare. China continues to probe Taiwan's airspace. Just the other day I saw there was a video on, I think I saw it on Drudge Report, or maybe it was Gateway Pundit, I don't remember, but a Chinese, one of their most sophisticated fighter planes, which they stole a lot of the technology from our fighter planes, it buzzed one of our fighter planes, and it was just like wing to wing, and they claimed it was a violation of safety and all this. I don't know if they were actually violating any airspace or not, but it was just an act of aggression, or could have been viewed as a sign of things are getting more tense between the U.S. and China. China continues to probe Taiwan's airspace, and they may attempt to take Taiwan in 2023. Everything that I'm seeing from, again, my historical research and stuff like this, China is posturing in such a way that I think they're getting ready to take Taiwan, and they're going to see, right now they're trying to see if Biden's going to do anything about it. So I mentioned the buzzing of our aircraft, and the Chinese aircraft carrier was spotted off the coast of Guam just a few days ago. And so things are getting more and more escalated every single day. So I won't be a bit surprised if China and Russia versus NATO and the United States of America doesn't end up being the key players in World War III. And probably Iran will be on the side of the Chinese and the Russians. So bad deal. It's just bad on every front. So right now, China is testing Biden's reaction to a more aggressive posture from China. So even if they don't go to war with Taiwan, they're basically feeling the corners and seeing how far they can push Biden before he does anything. And I predict Biden will not do anything that could be perceived as an act of aggression towards China. They own the Biden administration. It's as simple as that. You can look at all the stuff, that connections between Hunter, the big guy, all this other stuff. They own China Joe. No doubt about it. He's got a made in China stamp on his body somewhere. Next up, supply chain disruptions and possible large-scale shortages. We could see stuff way worse than the whole toilet paper Armageddon that we saw at the beginning of COVID and all that stuff. It could be way, way more serious issues where you can't get basic foods that you need to survive. So I predict there's going to be a lot more of that stuff, and here's why. America's breadbasket is running on empty, and we have been since Biden came in, essentially. Farmers are predicting much lower yields this year compared to previous years. Fertilizer and fuel prices and availability continue to hinder production. Extreme weather events such as droughts, wildfires, and Arctic weather have also been a big hit to farmers, especially small family farms. You know, those bigger farms, they can absorb the losses a lot easier than the small family farms. Government regulations in the name of environmentalism have already destroyed thousands of family farms. I predict many more will be regulated out of business in the year 2023. It's unfortunate because I think many of us, as myself and many of us that watch the Hands On channel, we want to buy our stuff locally and from local family farms because we've dealt with them and stuff in the past. And the more, I've just seen so many of these small family farms eventually become big corporate farms because the small family farmer just can't keep up with all the stuff, the hits, the ups and downs of the volatile market that they're trying to do business in. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more of them either regulated or priced out of business come 2023. And that's going to bring on the next category. Famine. For years, they've said this. America has been the breadbasket of the world. Now, not to say that other countries haven't picked up some of those areas like, Ukraine right now. I'm sure there's not a lot of planting going on when they're under such severe threat of being, bombed or hit with missiles and things like that. So all over the world, farms are being attacked. We've seen the things, where was that? All over the world in Europe. They're basically going after farmers. I saw it was as many as like 3,000 farms had been shut down because of environmentalism and all this other stuff. So their Green New Deal, Great Reset, Build Back Better is working exactly as they predicted it would, exactly like they want it to work. They want to take away everyone's ability to be able to fend for themselves. They want you to only rely on the government. I've heard a lot of talk here recently about these 15-minute cities, they're calling them. And it's basically where everything that you will ever need in your entire life will be in 15-minute walking distance or bicycling distance from your residence. So they're wanting to shove everyone into these smart cities where they'll control everything that you do. They'll know everything you do. They'll monitor every single thing you do. It's just over the top Orwellian. I mean, I don't really have any other word to say. Dystopian, dystopic nightmare. I mean, this is the thing of nightmares that we're talking about here, and it's all coming to a town near you. Famine. Global food supplies have never been lower. Third world countries will experience mass starvation. The U.S. will see food prices continue to rise. Middle class and poor people won't be able to eat what they prefer to eat. Beans and rice may become the staple meal for many American families and around the world because at least right now it's relatively cheap still. Meat will only be available for the rich. I think we're going to see more startups of like synthetic meat companies and all these other things that are coming to a town near you in the year 2023. It's already happening. I think it was North Carolina or South Carolina. They just moved over a huge multi-million-dollar synthetic meat company, and it was like Israeli backed and Israeli funded, but they've set it up in South Carolina or North Carolina, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. But they're going to produce synthetic meat. They figured out how to make like the connective tissue in a petri dish, and they're going to do that on a large scale. Coming to a grocery store near you. I mean, that's pretty scary for me. I think you're going to see more insect farms. And they're going to be coming soon in 2023. I think that's just, I mean, it's only logical. They say these people are telling us exactly what they're going to make us do 2 or 3 years ahead of time. All I'm trying to do is cut through the red tape and tell you exactly how this is going to affect you. And if things keep going the way they're going, we may all be eating the bugs, whether we like it or not. I mean, at a certain point, when you're starving, you know, a cricket sandwich starts to sound pretty good, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't sound good to me, but that's why I stock up and I try to stay prepared. Moving on, we're going to get to the energy sector. What's that going to look like in 2023? Well, we're going to see continued fuel shortages and massive price increases. I know it's come back down quite a bit, but we've already seen this before, and I predict a much worse scenario in 2023. Before the midterms, it was advantageous for the Biden administration and the Dems to keep the fuel prices as low as possible. They didn't want the voters to see that their Marxist policies had actually caused all of these problems. So Biden practically drained the strategic oil reserve in 2022. It's currently at the lowest level since 1984. Now we will not have the safety net of when oil prices skyrocket the next time. And a lot of people are saying that's coming in January. Some stuff that's going on with Russia and all this, and that they're basically going to have to start shutting down their pipelines because they can't actually get it out of the country. I saw a whole video where essentially if Russia is not pumping oil up there in their areas where there's like permafrost, as soon as they slow production down to a point where it's not coming out fast enough, even the oil pipes will freeze up, and it will basically send ice water all up through the pipe, and it will clog everything up and burst the pipes and things. So it'll be catastrophic. And apparently it's happened before. But they have to keep shipping that stuff out. And China has been their number one buyer since everyone else has kind of turned against the Russians because of the Ukrainian war, right? So they're running into a real roadblock. And apparently in about early 2023, January sometime, they're going to hit a wall. And if they don't have something sorted out of how to export their product, then they're going to have to shut down their pipelines. If they shut down their pipelines, it's going to cause a chain reaction, and their wells are going to start freezing up. So it's certainly a catastrophic situation that's forming right out before our eyes right now. And many people are predicting $150 a barrel oil prices by the end of January 2023. So you better stock up now if you want to have fuel for your vehicles and things like that. You better stay on top of it. I've noticed it's already starting to inch up here in my area again. And so look out, guys. I think the oil prices and more importantly, how it affects you, the fuel prices are going to explode in the first quarter of 2023. And they may not come back down because Biden won't have any way to pump from a dry well. If he's already pumped out, the allowable amount out of the strategic energy reserves, then there's not going to be any safety net. This is just a catastrophic event situation that they have created. Don't forget who created it. It was the New World Order. It was Biden. It was the 2020 election. It was so many things that created this situation. Electricity prices will continue to skyrocket. This will force many more industries to shut down or reduce production. More companies will decide to move their production to other countries where energy and labor are cheaper. So, I mean, it just makes good business sense. At a certain point, even if you've always been a made in the USA product and you pride yourself in that, at a certain point, you can't afford the labor, you can't afford the electricity, you can't afford the fuel to run your fleet. I mean, at a certain point, you just pack up and either close the doors or you move your company to a country that's going to be better for profit. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, profitability. And as soon as they make the United States unprofitable in the eyes of most businessmen, we're going to have other problems. We'll get to that in a minute. Border invasion. The border will remain wide open under the Biden regime. It's being done by design intentionally. Look up, what's it called? Replacement migration. The UN plan, replacement migration. It's quite telling of what their plans are and how they're playing out right before our very eyes. They are counting on all these new citizens to be their permanent underclass. We've talked about that before in other videos, so go check that out. They need people they can manipulate and control more easily than the average Americans. It's a little bit of a surprise because the average American is already highly controlled and easy to control. And so I don't understand, except for they want people that are already used to living in a third world country and already have that mentality. That's going to be easier to convince them that Marxism and communism is the right way to go forward than the Americans who were raised on traditional Americanism, liberty, individual liberty, right? All these important things, due process, all these important things that are being openly violated by the Biden regime. Someone that's coming in from a third world country isn't going to have the advantage of, being educated in the ways that the United States is supposed to operate. So that's why they need this new class of voters to come in. So the Biden regime, they will sue Texas for attempting to control their borders, just like they sued Arizona for constructing the shipping container wall. So don't be a bit surprised when Biden goes after Governor Abbott for directing the Texas National Guard to construct a temporary border wall out of like razor wire and other things. And apparently it's been working to some small degree. So the more it works, the more they're able to control their border, the more likely it is that the Biden regime will sue Governor Abbott. I ought to go look that up. They probably already have a lawsuit pending, the Biden regime versus Governor Abbott. So anyways, moving on here. So after the COVID shutdown, there was a lot of new hiring that went on, and a lot of people had jobs. There were a lot of people going around my town. You'd see help wanted signs everywhere. Well, I'm seeing less and less and less of those because I believe massive layoffs and unemployment are coming soon. As all of this plays out, company owners will start trimming the fat in February or March. That's my prediction. Some companies will shut down completely or move to China because of the instability that's been created by the Marxist policies. Overregulation, high fuel and energy prices combined with modern day work ethic doesn't bode well for the United States of America. Remember, guys, this is all being done intentionally, by design. Build Back Better, the Great Reset, Agenda 21, 2030 is all playing out. They're coming for everything you and I hold dear. The right to farm, the right to work, the right to have a home out in the country where you want to live. No, they want you to move into a 15-minute city. They want you to give up your vehicle. That vehicle gives you too much freedom. Only the uber elite will be able to travel, by plane or jet or limo or car, anything like that in the future. You won't be able to. You'll have a bicycle. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll have a little electric scooter you can scoot around town on or whatever, but you'll never leave that town your entire life. That's the plan these people have in place. Build Back Better, the Great Reset, UN Agenda 21, 2030. It's all being done intentionally. This is 1984. This is the Orwellian nightmare that books like 1984 and Animal Farm and others along the way have tried to lay out to everyone to see. It's playing out before our very eyes. Very few people are even aware that it's going on. Unreal times to be alive. I wish I had some great news to share with you about the things that are going to be great for the United States of America in 2023, but the outlook is not good. I would suggest stocking up now like you've never done before. Stack it to the ceiling. You may not be able to afford it in the future. These things that we take for granted every day, that are so readily available here because we've always had first world status, may be disappearing before our very eyes because we're heading towards third world country status. Once that happens, the New World Order will fully sink their hooks into the rest of the free world, and it'll be over, Jack. It'll be us versus the entire New World Order Agenda 21 2030 Build Back Better plan. We won't be able to do anything or say anything because they'll just delete you off of the internet, delete you, or give you a bad social credit score, and then you won't be able to buy anything but bugs. This doesn't play out well for anyone that loves freedom. So guys, be prepared for all this stuff and fight like hell to stop it. Don't let your local communities, that's how we stop this stuff. When we start hearing about smart city plans in our local communities, we have to be at those town hall meetings and say, no, do you understand what you're saying? Do you understand what this smart city means? You may take the money and you may think, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to repair some of my roads and things like this. That's how they get our towns and our cities around the country. They come in with these sweetheart deals where they're like, oh, well, if you just do this one thing for us and agree to the Smart Cities program, then we'll give you this, this, and this, and that, and it'll be great for you. They don't tell you about any of the negative consequences or the outcomes or the long-term repercussions that will happen if you sign these deals with the devil. That's who this is. Klaus Schwab is the closest thing I've ever seen to a real-life supervillain. He's behind all this crap. The UN and Klaus Schwab's Great Reset have joined forces. They're now one. That should scare you to death. It scares me, and it's causing me to prepare like there is no tomorrow, guys, because at some point there won't be. You won't be able to prepare anymore. So please, this is what I think's coming. You tell me down in the comments. Am I wrong? Do you see anything wrong with any of my predictions? Do you have 5 more predictions you'd like to add into the discussion? I'd love to read them. I always do. And as always, guys, I stand for liberty to the bitter end. And that even means people that disagree with me. I stand for their liberty too, although they don't stand for mine. They want to shut me down. Help me spread the message by sharing these videos, hitting like, subscribe, commenting down below, all that stuff. I look forward to reading them. And until then, we'll see you next time.